IPC. Today's good word from our good Father is about the law as a curb. A curb. When I was a teenager, I used to borrow my dad's car, and every time I did, he would give me the keys and he would say, "Son, keep the shiny side up." It was so annoying to hear that all the time. I actually had some run-ins with curbs, like literally. I ran into curbs. I still have in my adult life too. I've blown out tires by running the car into curbs. I wiped out here in Milan with Ellie while I was on my bicycle because I ran into the curb instead of looking where I was going. But actually, curbs are good, and you wouldn't want to be walking along a street while a teenager who was learning how to drive, or while a 10-year-old who was riding their bike was going on the street. Why? Because the curb can help keep you from smashing into pedestrians, or if you're the pedestrian, it can keep that kid from running his bike or his car into you. Well, Psalm 19 begins by saying this: "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. They have no speech, they use no words, no sound is heard from them, yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the end of the world." In other words, the creation itself proclaims God's truth. Another way to say this is that the law of God is written on every human heart, and his will is known in every part of creation. And as we look at nature, we see what God desires. We see that God exists and what God wants. So it's true that everyone on earth actually does hear God's law. It's published everywhere in creation and in the human heart. And what God does with his law as a curb is he curbs our most messed up desires. Through his law, he keeps us from doing the worst things that we might be tempted to do. Reckless things that might damage ourselves and others and bring sorrow to his own heart. And therefore, God's law, written in nature, written on our hearts, written in his word, is a gracious gift to us. Sure, sometimes we run into the curb, but to bump up against something firm and solid and concrete and true, something as concrete as God's own will, man, I'm so thankful that God has used his law as a curb to graciously constrain me and keep me from doing so many of the dumb, awful, hurtful things that I have been tempted to do. By the curb of God's law, God cares for the world that he so loves, and by the curb of his law, he cares for people, especially that are made in his image, and he helps us to stay on the road. What a gracious and good God that we have. We'll see you next time.